In a reflex arc, sensory information is processed at the level of the spinal cord, resulting in action without involvement of the brain. For example, if one's fingers are burned by a candle, the hand that receives the painful stimulus is rapidly removed from the flame with a jerking motion. At the same time, the brain is receiving information indicating that a painful event occurred in the hand. It is important to understand that although the brain may perceive the painful stimulus, the reflex arc acts to retract the hand without direct input from the brain. A stroke may occur when there is an insufficient supply of blood to a brain region, or when damage to the vasculature in a specific brain region causes bleeding into the nervous tissue. In general, there are three types of strokes that occur. They are classified based on the type of vascular defect that causes them. Cerebral hemorrhaging occurs when a vessel bursts, causing bleeding in a region of the cerebral cortex. An embolic stroke occurs when small clots that formed on other parts of the circulatory system occlude cerebral arteries and cut off the blood supply to a part of the cerebral cortex. An ischemic stroke occurs when a narrowing or blockage of cerebral vasculature results in oxygen deprivation in a specific part of the cerebral cortex. The specific functional deficits observed in someone who has suffered a stroke can be correlated with the functions of the damaged cortical region. In a healthy brain, the nerve impulses from the cerebral cortex travel through the brain and cross over to the opposite contralateral side of the body. When a stroke occurs, damage to the cortex is usually unilateral, since information to and from the cortex crosses over the midline. The effects of a stroke on the left side of the brain occur on the right side of the body. A person who has suffered a stroke may experience paralysis that may involve the face, weakness or paralysis of limbs, often limited to one side of the body, loss of sensation that parallels paralysis, difficulty with speech, double vision, loss of vision, dizziness or vomiting, severe headache, loss of consciousness. The detection of specific airborne molecules, referred to as autogens, results in the sense of smell. As the autogen is inhaled, it moves through the nostril and into the nasal cavity. There it comes in contact with the olfactory epithelium. The olfactory bulb, which lies above the nasal cavity, receives sensory information from the olfactory epithelium. Within the upper nasal cavity, the autogens dissolve in the mucus lining, where they can interact with receptors on cells in a specialized region on the olfactory epithelium. The detection of specific water-soluble molecules found in food or drink results in the sensation of taste. Specialized cells found in taste buds on the tongue contain receptors capable of interacting with molecules found in our food. When a taste receptor is stimulated, an electrical signal is produced by the sensory cell, resulting in an impulse which is transmitted to the brain and results in the perception of taste.
Sound waves are gathered by the pinna and directed down the auditory canal to the eardrum or tympanic membrane. The mechanical energy of the sound causes the eardrum to vibrate. This in turn causes vibration of the three middle ear bones, first the malleus, then the incus, and finally the stapes. These tiny bones amplify the vibrations. The stapes comes in contact with the inner ear at the oval window. The fluid-filled inner ear is a coiled structure called the cochlea. Vibrations conveyed to the fluid cause bending of hair cells. If we examine this cross-section of the cochlea, the tectorial membrane can be seen at the top. In it are embedded the tips of hair cells, which are shown circled in yellow. When the hair cells bend in response to vibration, the rate of firing by the neurons at their bases changes. These signals are conveyed to the brain and perceived as sound.
The ability to sense head position is achieved by monitoring sensory organs in the saccule and utricle of the inner ear, called maculae. The hair cells in the macula are key to the vestibular sense. Each hair cell has a large cilium referred to as the kinocilium, and many smaller cilia called stereocilium. When the cilia is bent towards the kinocilium, the firing rate of the hair cell decreases. Within the macula, the cells are embedded in a gelatinous layer that is weighted by otoliths. The ability to sense rotational acceleration is achieved by monitoring sensory organs in the semicircular canals of the inner ear, called crista ampullari. The hair cells in the crista ampullari are key to the vestibular sense. Each hair cell has a large cilium referred to as the kinocilium, and many smaller cilia called stereocilia. When the cilia are bent toward the kinocilium, the firing rate of the hair cell increases. When the cilia are bent away from the kinocilium, the firing rate of the hair cell decreases. To form images of our environment, light emitted by or reflected from objects must be focused on the retina. Some of the light reflected from the surface of a yield sign is directed toward the eye. Upon reaching the eye, the light is first refracted by the cornea to send it on a path toward the retina. To reach the retina, the light rays must pass through the lens, where a small amount of refraction adjusts the angle of the light to form a focused image on the retina. Central to the sense of vision is the transduction of light energy into electrical energy by cells in the retina called rods and cones. Cylindrical-shaped cells called rods are responsible for the perception of light and dark. Conically shaped cells called cones are sensitive to red, green, or blue light. The endocrine system consists of a variety of cells, tissues, and organs that secrete hormones. A hormone is a chemical signal that is carried in the bloodstream from its site of release to a target organ. Hormones exert their effects by altering various metabolic processes within target organs, thereby altering a person's entire metabolism. For example, the concentration of calcium ions in extracellular fluids is regulated mainly by the parathyroid glands. When calcium concentration drops below normal, the parathyroid glands are stimulated to release parathyroid hormone. Parathyroid hormone causes an increased activity in osteocytes and osteoclasts. These cells dissolve calcium phosphate crystals found in bones, thereby releasing calcium and phosphate ions into the extracellular fluids. Parathyroid hormone also causes the kidneys to conserve calcium ions and increase the excretion of phosphate ions. Thus, the net effect of parathyroid hormone is to increase calcium ion concentration of the extracellular fluids while maintaining normal phosphate ion concentrations. Ultimately, the increased amount of calcium in the blood acts as negative feedback on the parathyroid glands, inhibiting the secretion of parathyroid hormone. Within the base of the forebrain is the hypothalamus, a region of the brain that integrates information from the rest of the body and regulates most of the body's endocrine systems. An example of an endocrine system regulated by the hypothalamus is the hypothalamo-pituitary axis. Some neurons within the hypothalamus produce and secrete thyrotropin-releasing hormone, TRH. TRH is secreted into the hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal vessels and carried into the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland, where it stimulates cells that make thyroid-stimulating hormone, TSH. TRH stimulates the release of TSH from the anterior lobe of the pituitary. TSH enters the bloodstream and is carried to the thyroid gland. At the thyroid gland, TSH stimulates the production and release of thyroxine, a hormone that regulates the metabolic rate of all the cells in the body. In addition to regulating our metabolic rate, thyroxine inhibits the TRH-containing neurons within the hypothalamus. This inhibition results in decreased release of TRH, and thus a decrease in secretion of TSH and thyroxine. This is called a negative feedback loop and occurs frequently in the endocrine system. The pancreas, located behind the stomach, is involved in the body's ability to use glucose. Within the pancreas, tiny structures called islets of Langerhans secrete hormones into the blood. These islets are composed of several cell types. One cell type, beta cells, release insulin after every meal. Insulin, along with glucose, passes into the bloodstream and travels throughout the entire body. Insulin binds to specific receptors located on cells. The binding prompts the opening of glucose gates, allowing glucose to enter the cell. Diabetes is a disease in which the body has trouble using glucose. In type 1 diabetes, the beta cells are no longer able to produce insulin. In type 2 diabetes, insulin is produced and binds with the cell's receptors. However, when insulin binds with the receptor, the glucose gates fail to open, preventing the entry of glucose into the cell.